So welcome in this particular unit. This topic, a session in which we'll focus on literature and technology, that there is a nexus between literature and technology. So to address the perceived stagnation in the field, Gochel, 2008, characterizes traditional literary studies as an isolated and directionless ivory tower discipline. Yeah, and basically, the temptation to stick to qualitative methods, according to Gottschall, is an attempt to make literary studies moribund. And he therefore argues that it's important for literary studies to incorporate quantitative methods um, to make literature more vibrant. Yeah, to make literature more vibrant. We have had, divergent voices in literature. We have had scholars who feel that it is time for literature to now embrace quantitative methods and move away from typically qualitative methods. And also, we have had those who feel that literature is basically qualitative, and we need depth in qualitative analysis rather than quantitative methods. And I'm told people like, of course, okay, welcome, Felix, welcome. So we have had voices that argue that literature should actually be quantitative, and those that argue that literature should be qualitative. And people like Gottschall 2008 argues that literary studies have become basically very, very moribund. They have become dull and they are dying off because they do not embrace quantitative methods. And I'm told Gottschall suffered a lot when he went this direction. He met a lot of opposition and even lost his position because most literary scholars felt that he has moved away from the canon that has established his discipline, and that is basically the methodologies like qualitative methods. So Gottschall feels that to revitalize the discipline and instill sense of intellectual optimism, scholars must integrate quantitative methodologies. So echoing this shift towards empirical rigor, Ramsey 2011 highlights digital humanities as a solution to the limitations of a purely theoretical analysis. Basically, literature depends so much on qualitative methods. We analyze texts, we do thematic analysis, which Gottschall argues that this is not scientific, that for this subject to be vibrant, we need to move towards quantitative methods. So because of this, the field of digital humanities has been established, and it has been doing quite well. It has been doing quite well. And so in this particular session, we will look at how technology has led to the establishment of digital humanities. So what are the expected learning outcomes of this particular lesson? To evaluate how machine writing challenges traditional notions of authorship. So we're going to look at machine writing. Computers are now writing. There are new apps like now you go to ChatGPT, you go to Gemini. They are writing stories. Yeah, they are writing. So literature intersects with technology. Number two, we are going to demonstrate how computational tools reorder and reassemble texts to reveal hidden stylistic patterns. That there are applications that can analyze works using scientific methods. So we will see one of them called the Z-axis tool, applying computational textual analysis to, let's say, River Between and Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart. So I'll just mention it shortly. And of course, I may not give you a lot of assignments unless if you want to read, you can go to the portal and find more about it. So one of our major scholars is Robert Busa. Robert Busa was the founder of machine writing. He was an Italian monk, who ventured into machine writing and came up with a number of discoveries. So this is one of our foundational scholars, but we also look at others like Edmund, who wrote a thesis in 2019, and it was very, very seminal with regard to machine writing. So Busa sought to map every word in the massive corpus of Thomas Aquinas, leading to a collaboration with IBM. So this effort produced the Index Thomisticus, essentially the first digital humanities project, which proved that machines could read and recognize text through quantitative indexing. Yeah, so this monk here, this monk Busa, was the first person to discover that um, a machine can read a text. That a machine can read a text, and when machines do their reading, it shifts literature from qualitative methods to quantitative methods. So scholars began using statistical models to solve mysteries of authorship. Scholars began using statistical methods to solve mysteries of authorship, most famously using computers to analyze word frequencies, and so on. So scholars began now using computers to do analysis of their works. So this era established the obvious signature of an author, the idea that our use of functional words like and but forms a quantifiable pattern that defies human intuition. That the way we use certain words, we can form certain patterns, and so we can form our signatures through our own use of words. That when you read a certain work, you will just know this is Felix, this is Nyongesa, this is Shakespeare, through the use of words, that machines are able to determine a certain pattern and assign a signature of authorship. So the true paradigm shift, occurred in the 21st century. And even as we speak, now we are having AI detectors, When they just go through your work, they will know this is a human being who has written. That the way we write as human beings, the way we choose words, is not the same way a machine chooses words. So if you use AI to generate data, machines are able to read through and know that this is a AI and this is a human being. And so that is what Busa, tried to say, that you can establish somebody's signature just by the choice of words. By reading a number of novels by someone, you will just know the way they choose words, and you will be able to know who this is and who the other person is. So Stephen Ramsey, 2011, moved the field away from purely scientific proof towards hermeneutic deformance. Yeah. That means a machine is able to deform, is able to deconstruct a text and come up with graphs and certain patterns. That's what we are calling deform. And exegesis, an analysis that enables the machine to know the stylistic nature of a work of art, but at the end, it draws graphs. It uses graphs to analyze or to present the analysis. It does not use an essay like human beings. It uses graphs and figures to present the analysis of the work. So he argued that computation shouldn't just count words, but should analyze a text to reveal new meanings. So we move on. Then we had Franco Moretti, who introduced distant reading, suggesting that we should analyze thousands of books simultaneously through data visualization rather than focusing on close readings of single texts. So, and this is what I'm saying. When a machine analyzes a book, it will end up with a visual representation of the work. It went up with a visual representation of the work, as we are going to see. So, as noted by Cameron Edmond, 2019, the history has entered the age of generative AI. So, the question of digital humanities has now entered generative AI. The focus has shifted from analyzing human written texts to understanding the procedural authorship of machines. Yeah. So machines can author. They can write very well. And if we have a chance, we will be able to share, and you will see how a machine. There's somebody who was asking me, can Gemini or ChatGPT write a poem? And I laughed. And I laughed. Gemini can write a full novel. It is not just it cannot just it's not just about a poem. A poem is nothing. It just depends on the prompts you give it. And AI is more intelligent. Actually, there's a certain type of AI that is intelligent than all human beings. There is a project I was working on AI, and we hope it comes out successfully. And in the introductory part, we discovered that the AI applications that are very, very intelligent, and they can write very, very well. Yeah. So talking about machines writing, there's a nexus between literature and technology, but how do they analyze and how do they write? So in this lesson, we'll just share briefly and see the difference between machine writing and human writing or machine analysis. For example, how does the non-human critique work? How does the non-human critique work compared to the human critique? Yeah, that is something we need to find out. So turning computational criticism into a study of the collaboration between human creativity and algorithmic logic. Yeah. So in the computation analysis, we look at the nexus between human creativity and algorithmic logic. And this algorithmic logic, it is no joke. It writes very well. And they can write far much better. And I don't know now what's going to happen to the writing profession. Like now, without an AI policy, students can really cheat lecturers. They can cheat lecturers, although as these robots here, it also depends on the prompts you give them. If you give them very weak prompts, they will produce very weak productions. So, what are some of the features of machine writing and criticism? So, number one, collaborative creativity. Edmund emphasizes that machine writing and analysis represents a hybridity between human intuition and algorithmic speed. Yeah. So, so what we are saying here is that the algorithm has a lot of speed. It writes very fast. You can finish a chapter um, just in let me say even 12 minutes. In 12 minutes, you can finish a chapter of 3,000 words. You can finish a chapter of 3,000 words. But if you are doing human writing, this is something that you will take even 3 months. So or you take even 1 month to write a full serious chapter. But the algorithm, once you prompt it, it writes very fast. And I wish I had a chance. I don't know if I can. I wish I had a chance. So that I just share a few, but maybe I'll show you next time. So it writes very fast. It writes very fast. But human intuition is now, it is you now who gives the spark. You tell it, write this and this, write this and that, and then it writes very fast. But most publishers are not accepting AI generated novels. They are fed up. They are not happy with what people are doing. But there is even someone who said that Coetzee, I don't know if it's true, but someone told that who said that J.M. Coetzee used artificial intelligence to write some of his novels, I just read it somewhere, but it's not verified. It's not verified. Um, but it is possible. It is possible to write a full novel using an algorithm. Then, in this view, computational criticism is a collaborative act where the machine performs the brute force. It performs the brute force, um, you know, of data processing, while the human provides the creative spark. So, if you want to know something about maybe Benjamin's Kill Me Quick, you just ask it. Who are the major characters in Benjamin's Kill Me Quick, and tell me this and this about them, and it will go. So it's you now to after it gives you, if you have read the book very keenly, you'll just see, and mostly, especially these old books, it does very 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 wonderful analysis. It does, and it does it very fast. It is not as slow as the human beings. It does it. That's why we are calling it algorithmic speed. Yeah. So while the human provides the creative spark and ethical oversight, effectively merging quantitative precision with qualitative sensitivity. And let nobody also lie to you that it does not know ethical values. The algorithm knows. Like if you tell Gemini to draw a picture of someone stabbing another person, it will tell you no. I cannot draw that because um, it's unethical. It's against the morals. So it's what human beings have fed it. And most of them are programmed to do what? Are programmed to reject certain unethical values, certain unethical values. And then procedural authorship. So in machine writing, it is a procedure. Edmund explores how the logic of the code itself becomes a form of authorship. In computational criticism and machine writing, the author is no longer just the person who wrote the words, but the person who designed the procedural rules. So for now, authorship is not just you writing, but it's you, ordering certain rules, giving certain rules to command the algorithm to write, to write. So authorship is procedural, yeah. But authorship is procedural. But for now, authorship is procedural. We move on. Potential literary space. Ramsey argues that the goal of algorithmic criticism is not to provide a final solution or a scientific proof of a text meaning. Instead, the algorithm serves as a provocation to explore the potential meanings within a work. It opens up a space for a new interpretation by highlighting data points that the human critic must then explain using traditional qualitative methods. So if it draws graphs, for example, if you are looking at maybe poverty in Cockroach Dance by Meja Mwangi, it will just draw colors. It will just do color coding. So it's upon you to know which areas are poor and which areas are rich. So therefore, there must be an interaction between the human critique. Okay. Sorry for that. And I don't know now if it has recorded anything. Um, that's why I'm happy. Okay, it's recording. Okay, sorry. So let me, there was somebody called and there's a lot of network issues because of calls. Um, so just 1 minute. So there must be that interaction between the human critique and the algorithm, because um, the algorithm will do the analysis, but um, the human critique must also interpret. The human critic must also interpret. So sorry for that mishap. Um, Sorry for that mishap. Sorry for that mishap. Um, so the potential literary space. So Ramsey, so that's what I've talked about Ramsey. Um, Yeah, that it draws and then it's you now to interpret. And then deformance as a hermeneutic strategy. So Ramsey posits that computational tools are the most effective when they deform a text, when they deform a text, breaking its traditional narrative flow to reveal underlying structures by reordering a work, so it can change the work into some figures by reordering it, and then it's upon the critic to now analyze. So I want to look at one of the tools. It's called the Cyberwell, but basically this one I'll look at the Z-axis tool. I'll just look at the Z-axis tool. If you want more, you'll go online and see the Cyberwell. So this is one of the apps which Cameron uses in his work, his thesis in 2019. So according to Cameron, machinic applications such as the Cyberwell and Z-axis tool have the following features when they analyze our work. One, delegation of agency. So machine writing originates when humans surrender creative control to a machine self. So you have to surrender some creative control, because the machine will write, but you have to command it first. So if you want a periodic sentence or a loose paractic sentence, you tell it, I want this type of sentence. It should begin this way and end this way. And then you command it, and then it will produce a very good sentence. The same way to analysis, it is how you order it, is how you order that particular tool. So you have to surrender part of yourself. And no wonder some scholars are really critical of the use of AI in writing academic work. Some scholars are very critical. Some universities, some publishers are against any use of artificial intelligence, especially generative AI. They encourage assistive AI, where you can use it for editing. You can use the machine for the AI for editing, but not to generate a full-term paper or to generate a full thesis, because you surrender part of your agency and it can write very, very well. Structural focus over semantic meaning. So unlike the human reader who analyzes emotion and irony, machines focus on diction, form, and structure. Yeah, so for them, they don't know much about emotions and irony. They don't know that. They focus on diction, form, and structure, often resulting in nonsensical or eligible orthography to human readers. Yeah. So sometimes they focus so much on form. Then the contextual replacement. Algorithms transform literary contexts by substituting traditional lexicon, by substituting traditional lexicon with technological terms. So for example, words like God, God is replaced with the net. Yeah. So for them, they don't know any other God, and so spirituality falls. They don't especially the cyber world. The cyber world does not recognize God or devil, spiritual. They don't understand spiritual things. So if you say Okonkwo went to his shrine to worship his God, for the term God is replaced with the net. And so if the net is God, then who is the shrine? Where do we find the net? Yeah, maybe it could be um, one of the tech giants, one of the tech giants like Google. Yeah, so a shrine could be something like Google. So the cyber cannot analyze, for example, river between or things fall apart the way a human being will do. Because human beings understand who God is, or who ancestral spirit is. But the cyber world does not understand an ancestral spirit. So when there's ancestral spirit, the cyber will replace the net, and it does not understand death. The cyber will see death as disconnection. So if you are disconnected from the net, then you are dead. So a number of vocabularies will change. And so when you use the cyber well to analyze, for example, river between, it will not analyze it the same way human beings do it. So there's a difference between the human critique and the non-human critique, which is the cyberwell. For example, cyberwell is one of the apps which are used to analyze works of art. And then we have the z-axis tool. So there's the question of loss of introspection. When you use it to analyze, machines cannot reflect on decisions. Machines cannot reflect on decisions. Machines cannot reflect. So because of this, they delete scenes requiring character introspection and prioritize precise, concise versions over original narrative. So where characters introspect or they experience a lot of reminiscences, then machines cannot reflect on such decisions. Then they prioritize virtual networks. They prioritize virtual networks. Machine criticism reflects a shift from humanistic concerns, such as politics and religion, to values of the online virtual community and internet subscribers. And that's the one I've just talked about. If you say God, they say the net, and all that. So they prioritize the virtual community. They will talk about WhatsApp. They'll talk about tech giants and others at the expense of spiritual things. So politics and religion, sometimes it may not really be understood. It may not really be understood by the machine. So according to Crystal et al. 2016, the z-axis tool analyzes text by extracting data related to specific locations and mapping it geographically, with the prominence of a location determining its height on the map. So it will start drawing things and to show conflict. Certain colors will be used here and there through color coding and graphs. Then it will be able to show you a graph or a map. So Edmund applies this concept to Wolf's Miss Dalloway, noting that the tool interprets the novel through a map of London, transforming the narrative into visual shapes and structures based on the location. And that's why we are saying this is quantitative analysis, because you will see a graph, you will see color coding, you will see hills and all that. So in the river between, the tool represents the distribution of these thematic forces through graphical elements like pie charts, graphs, mountains, and valleys based on character, dialogue, and narration. So if this tool were to analyze Ngugi wa Thiong'o's The River Between, it will map the conflict between binary forces, such as tradition versus modernity, or Christianity versus African religion across central Kenya. So the tool represents the distribution of these thematic forces through graphical elements like pie charts, graphs, mountains, and valleys based on character, dialogue, and narration. So the Z-axis tool utilizing this mapping method will represent leadership prominence through physical geography, such as mountains for high significance and valleys for low significance. So the tool will come up with a figure like the one below. So looking at river between, this is now Kameno with the purple, on the right with very high hills. And then we have Makuyu on the other side, with the lower hills. So you'll see such figures like this. So it's upon you to now use this information to interpret the data. Yeah. So the tool visualizes the narrators. It visualizes the narrator's evidence, specifically the circled group, as the highest hill on the right side of the map. So 3 smaller hills follow, metaphorically representing the heroes Mugo wa Kibiro, Wachori, and Kamiri. So this mapping strategy mirrors the tools analysis of Henry James What Messi knew, where high status areas like Baker Street are depicted in yellow, rising above the lower status areas, the National Gallery, depicted in blue. So color coding becomes very important in this particular analysis. So that is the end of my lesson. And I would like us to, so I will give you some instructions. The exam is coming, revise for it. There are those set books I gave you. Ensure that you use those, read those books. And if you need any guidance, please also make the notes on the slides. I can share the slides with you, but also go on the portal and see if there is anything that is missing. We also share through WhatsApp so that you understand the content better. So that's the end of my lesson. And also I will need, of course, the term paper. There are some term papers. You have not been assessed up to 40. You only did a few presentations. I think I will need at least a term paper and one scenario so that you get your 40 marks. So thank you so much for listening. Have a great evening.